Francis Comiskey, and you're watching Igniting American Manufacturing. And today I'm really excited to have Terry Iverson here with us, and we're going to introduce Terry in a second here. First, I have a couple announcements. Did announce this last week. Berlin, December 4th and 5th, there'll be a conference, the Gigafactory, EV Battery Factory of the Future, and I'll be the chairperson of that, and I'll also be presenting the Smart Factory Initiative. So December 4th and 5th. And here's a really good announcement. And I had the pleasure last week of talking about Intel announcing their in-house apprenticeship program. Well, not to be outdone, this week Micron announced almost a duplicate program, and they took the opportunity to announce that during National Apprenticeship Week. So they're going to follow suit, and this will be, these folks will actually be physical employees, and they'll be going to school at night, and they'll wind up with an associate's degree after a year. So this is a great example of manufacturing doing the heavy lift in its workforce development, which I talk about frequently. So just another really, really cool thing as we start trying to attempt to address our workforce deficiencies so we can move manufacturing. So, like I said, I have a really, really cool guest here today. And we talk about manufacturing champions, folks that actually physically work in the workspace and try and help people. And this gentleman, Terry Iverson, actually has a group called CHAMPIONNow and does such. So, Terry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Really glad to have you. You know, you're one of those guests that, you know, it's kind of really tough to plan for. You know, you touch so many different things that we, in this conversation, can go 100 different directions. Mm-hmm. Briefly, and I'm going to have you back to talk this, I just want to talk a little bit about your family business.
Well, my family business, which I sold about a year ago, wanted to make sure that it was sustained. Started back in 1931, and my grandfather started.
Okay, 1931. Let's do a quick math here. We're looking at 94 years?
Correct.
Family-owned business for 94 years.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great story.
Very blessed. My dad, my grandfather, my dad, and myself were the main participants, but we had cousins involved in the business, cousin-in-laws, you know. Cousins.
What did you physically do? You were manufacturing?
Well, we sold machine tools, and some of the most accurate machine tools in the country, in the industry. One of the products that we represented was more jig grinders, as an example. Hardinge is another product that my family was involved with for almost 100 years. Mm-hmm. And so consequently...
94 is pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, my grandfather worked for Hardinge in the 1920s. So in 2025, our family will be actually celebrating 100 years in the manufacturing sector.
So I want to get this a little perspective here. You know, I'm a history buff. Mm-hmm. I love timelines. Basically started just really in the 20s, you know, almost 100 years ago, mm-hmm. just, you know, onset of the Depression.
Yes.
World War II. Mm-hmm. What we talk about, you know, in the 50s, this age of American exceptionalism and decline in the 70s, you know, mm-hmm. offshoring. We'll talk about that, you know, and, sure. and some of that resurgence. And you guys survived it. You know, we do talk about offshoring and the decline and shipping jobs over. The fact that you had a family business that survived the Depression, mm-hmm. that, you know, flourished in World War II, and chose not to offshore in that period speaks volumes about your family business and your family. So that's just really, really cool stuff. We're going to have to talk about that at length at another time. I think that's absolutely an amazing story.
Thank you.
3 generations. I do want to talk about this article here and CHAMPIONNow.
Okay.
Oh, can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. I took a deep dive into the technical education sector probably in the mid-90s. And so what I ended up doing was I was talking to high school students about manufacturing as a potential option. And over the years, I got involved in a lot of advisory boards in high schools and technical colleges. And then eventually I ended up in 2012 founding the organization called CHAMPIONNow.
Okay, so we all know that vocational training didn't get the emphasis that it should have in probably the past 50 years, and we have some workforce deficiencies as a result. You chose to work in that space. What was the impetus? What was the drive? What drove you? I mean, are you just a visionary and you said we need to keep doing this, or I mean, where was the thought process there?
Well, my family, has been very manufacturing based and American manufacturing based. Most of the builders were U.S. manufacturers, and I went to college. I left Jacksonville, went to Florida State. They didn't really have an engineering program at that time. They do now, but they didn't. And I was going to go into various disciplines, and then I realized that I was really good in math and science. So I actually left Florida State to go elsewhere to go into engineering. And then I realized that the family business was there, for me to participate in. My dad and my uncles wanted me to get involved. And I almost, blew a good opportunity by turning a blind eye to the family business. But I wised up very quickly and realized that I better give it a shot, and that was 44 years ago. So.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's been good to you.
We've been very blessed, yeah, for sure.
And like I said, family business, 94 years, that's awesome. So you did plus 40 years running the company, and then you opened up CHAMPIONNow.
In 2012.
In 2012. Okay.
Yep.
What's the focus of CHAMPIONNow? What's your mission or?
Well, Champion's actually an acronym, and it stands for Change How American Manufacturing's Perceived in Our Nation.
Did not know that. Okay.
It's a long acronym, and
That's great.
I have to take a breath.
One more time, I'm a little slow here. Say that again.
Change How American Manufacturing's Perceived in Our Nation.
Wow, there's a lot said there.
And then the now is the, let's do something about it.
Well, that's really apropos because we do need to change our perception. Recently, I always hear about the stigma about vocational training versus a college degree, and we have stigmatized a couple of generations. I didn't realize this. I read an article, Make Manufacturing Sexy Again, which I thought was kind of funny. I'm a manufacturing nerd. I always thought it was sexy. Working in high tech, I thought it was sexy. Come to realize that it's not, and people don't perceive it that way. And it's not from what I understand, not something a lot of people really look at in that light. And we need to change that perception. Because whether it's sexy or not, or it's cool, I think it's cool. I mean, I've built some really cool stuff and some really cool factories.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we do need to change the perception. We need to change the perception, the stigma around vocational training, and we need to change the perception around manufacturing. You probably know this, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. Manufacturing jobs, rank and file, pay 25 to 30% more than a national average.
Absolutely.
They have good benefits.
Great benefits.
Yeah, and I got a soapbox about this all the time, but when we have a healthy manufacturing sector, our middle class flourishes.
Absolutely.
They have disposable income. They spend and they elevate the whole economy. It's tried and true. It's been our success story. I just came back from a tour of China, and in the past 25 years, actually, they have taken our model, embraced manufacturing, and lifted 800 million. I said not 80, 800 million people out of poverty by embracing manufacturing. It's what made this country great. So I can get soapboxy about this stuff. So CHAMPIONNow, we got the acronym now, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit and tell us a little more about it.
Well, for 12 years, it's been 12 years since I founded it, and I've tried many times to push away from the table because it takes a lot of time and effort and et cetera. So I decided that speaking to young people one classroom at a time just wasn't enough as far as moving the needle. And so what I decided is that I would lay down products, so to speak, as a foundation from which to build, the initiative on. So in 2018, I wrote my first book, and then 2023, I wrote the second book just last year, and these are the two books.
Okay, well, I'm going to open. The first one is?
Finding America's Greatest Champion.
All right, well, Anybody can see that here. We're going to do a good posting of that later for you. So this is the first one.
That's the first one.
Okay, and this is basically to students or young people, correct?
Well, actually, that one's pretty much to industry, educators, students, and parents.
Okay.
This is for 4 different audiences, and I think, you know, maybe you can read the subtitle on that
Sure.
out loud, because I'm
All
pretty
right.
proud of the subtitle.
My eyes aren't as good as.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'll
all
read
right. Building prosperity through manufacturing, mentoring, and awesome responsibility of parenting. Wow.
So what I tried to do, Rory, was to build more value in the book about what I think is a critical topic in today's world is parenting and mentoring. That we have a little bit of a parenting epidemic in our country these days as decades have gone on, and mentoring is shunned at times by the younger generation, and it shouldn't be. And the older generation, like myself, needs to admit and embrace how important mentoring is. So if I just wrote the first book just about manufacturing, the only people that might read it is just the people that are already in manufacturing.
Sure.
So I tried to make sure I brought value beyond just manufacturing.
And then you wrote, I'm going to call it a sister book, but here we go.
Yep.
Inspiring Champions in Advanced Manufacturing. Discover the path to a debt-free career. Wow, okay.
Yep.
This is the parent edition.
Well, it's a 2-sided book, so that you have the parent edition, and then when you flip it over, you have the student edition.
Wow, okay.
And so it has 2 front covers, and the manuscript for each are 180 degrees to the other.
Can we get this up there? Here we go. Awesome. And how about that? How about that for ingenuity?
There you go.
There we go.
So it's literally
thanks, Terry.
it's literally designed to flip it over.
I need all the help I can get.
That's all right. That's all right. But this one's just for the students and parents, and so my company and myself and a few in my group of influence in manufacturing, we were on the leading edge of Manufacturing Day being started by FMA. FMA is the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, which used to be in Rockford, Illinois. Now they're in Elgin, Illinois. And so we put a call out. We had a group meeting at my office in Chicago in Des Plaines, and we basically said to everybody that we need to have a day about manufacturing, about promoting, changing the perceptions about manufacturing. And FMA, Pat was there from Pat Lee, I think her name was, she was from FMA, and she said, look, we have something that the board of directors is going to vote on next week, and it's called Manufacturing Day. So we have these events that around the country, NAM has now, National Association of Manufacturers, has now taken on the administration of Manufacturing Day, and we run families through all the different factories, and the participation is not where I think it needs to be, okay? But we don't give them any...
I want help with that, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. We need all the help we can get on that. But we don't give them the data, we don't give them the information and the inspiration along with what they see. So they go home and they have a conversation for a night or two, but then all the inspiration kind of dies on the vine. And so what I feel that these are awesome for, in part, is to give the inspirational stories, background, salaries, good benefits, and all the information that you and I know as insiders, but nobody else in the general public knows about.
Sure. Well, we talked about Amelia Goulding, who was on last week, another incredible workforce development champion, just all around good egg, that if we really want to do this workforce, we want to change the stigma, we need to get the parents. We need to get the parents on board.
Totally agree.
This is a little disconcerting. For a number of years, there's been a lot of surveys out there talking about, parents and college education, and the numbers, the numbers in the high 80s. Parents, 87%, I think, last time I saw, wanted their kids to get a college degree, and kind of held vocational training in disdain.
Right.
Well, and I've seen that in numbers, varying slightly. I've seen several surveys out over the past couple of years. The one came out, and we actually talked about it in the show here, maybe a month, maybe 5 weeks ago. The one just came out and they polled 18 to 21-year-olds, and the numbers were almost the same. And it was 84% said that their parents didn't want them to, and 87% they probably wouldn't pursue it, and it was like 87% didn't think it was cool. It was sexy.
Or fascinating enough.
We have successfully, here we come from the age of exceptionalism where we're just manufacturing. We are the largest manufacturer to the entire world, and we offshore and we pursue, a service-based economy. And that course of that time, that 50 years, we have actually, not just the parents haven't, taken on this mantra, we have stigmatized one or two generations, working on the third generation of youth. Yep. There's a lot of work to be done. So what you're doing here is huge. Now, tell me about your camps.
Well,
this is another really cool
product.
tool.
It's another product. So I did the 2 books. During COVID, we ended up doing 22 videos that we put on our YouTube page.
Okay. We're going to put that link up here at the end, okay, for sure.
Okay.
Remind me.
So we have, so during COVID, a friend of mine, Dennis, that we'll talk about later, he and I did some educational videos. And then after that, then we came up with Camp Champ. And so I had done, in Jacksonville, actually a live machining camp at Frank Peterson, which is, I think they would technically call that the north side. And did a camp, sent a CNC machine tool down to their facility, took a week off work and taught young people all about manufacturing and inspection as well. And then I realized it just wasn't a financial model that was really sustainable, because my soft costs, or actually my hard costs, were about $10,000 just getting it down there, and just the materials. It just wasn't sustainable. Mm-hmm. So then one of the previous IMTSs, I had seen a tabletop CNC machine, and I thought, okay, now that I can work with. And so between myself and others in the organization and my eldest son, we came up with this camp that we wanted to be portable. And there's a lot of people that are putting machine tools in trailers and etc. But
been there, done that.
But you have to get the young people through the trailer, and it's confining, and it doesn't give you enough flexibility to really be dynamic enough or interactive enough. So what we did was we started making pens out of wood, and pen cases out of wood, so we don't need coolant, so we can just run it dry. And so we turnkeyed on a CNC lathe and a CNC mill that's on a scissors lift, so you can raise and lower it on wheels. Mm-hmm. And so we made crates to ramp the machine tools into the crate, and we can ship it anywhere. And so the concept is that you have 6 different manufacturing cells with different elements of manufacturing. And we bring young people from middle school in, and we try to limit 4 young people per cell, okay? So 25, 24, 25 young people. And then what we want to do is we want to introduce turning, milling, inspection, laser engraving, assembly, and then I think the last one is, there's one I've left out, but nonetheless. And then we have CTE students, high school students, mentoring the middle school students. Now, the location that we actually conduct the camp can either be a technical college or an industry member. And so the concept, the mentoring concept, everyone's all over. They say it's like nothing that they've ever seen. But by having it at a technical college with an industry member present, or industry members present, or at an industry member's location with technical college personnel present, and having middle school young people and high school students involved, we literally have a path from, say, 4th or 5th grade all the way to industry.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And so it's a pretty cool concept. And there's you and I have talked about MEPs around the country. And in Illinois, we have one called IMEC. And the president of IMEC is Dave Boulay. And for years, he was always telling me, hey, you're doing great things with CHAMPIONNow, but there's nothing I can help you with. Well, when we came out with the camp, he says, that's something I can help you with, Terry. So he gave us some money, you know, a little bit of money to run 5 camps. We actually ran 6. And then just this past, a little over maybe 6 weeks ago, he said, we'd like you to do it again this year, this fall as well.
So basically, I mean, you're taking these kids and making a little mini factory and running them through the process. And they do something start to finish, so they get a vision and they leave with something.
And it's really not, you know, some people say, well, you know, tell us about your curriculum, tell us about this. I go, well, it's not really a curriculum, and it's not educational, it's inspirational. It's introductory based and inspirational, so that we can get them excited about the fact that manufacturing is cool, the fact that manufacturing, you know, you have all these young people that do all, you know, the game. You know, I think there's 3 billion gamers in the world right now, if you can believe it. And my youngest son is a gamer, so it's not really a world that I understand.
Me neither. It's an age thing. It has to be an age thing, Terry.
Exactly. But the gaming facet, the technology is literally not much different than what the manufacturing technology is. And so if a young person is really fascinated with gaming, there's no reason that they can't be fascinated with manufacturing.
Sure. Well, make manufacturing sexy. Sorry, I'm just going to beat that one to death. You know, and here's where I get a little soapboxy. You know, we have a wave of innovation globally, from semiconductor chips. We talked a little bit of this, you know, the global data sphere, and AI is exacerbating that. You know, and this nanoset, this very, very new EV ecosystem, and those three, that trifecta there, are driving a lot of innovation globally. And then we have the power requirements for that, which we're lacking in. In the United States, with our reshoring and the CHIP Act and the IRA, we've thrown some fuel on that fire. And it's a good thing. We want to bring manufacturing back here. Our biggest challenge, and you and I well as well, is having a skilled workforce.
Human capital, for sure.
Yeah, human capital. That's what we're lacking. So the needle has moved. You know, like we talked about Micron, and I always say, you know, where it's going to take government, and they're helping with the CHIP Act, academia, and we see that with Purdue and ASU, and then, but I always said the heavy lifting is going to have to be done by the manufacturers. Tesla does a very excellent job. You know, well, I've been involved. I'm not objective. I've been involved in their program, so is Amelia Cooling. But Intel's announcement last week and Micron's announcements, apprenticeships, they're doing their bit. And I've got asked this, and Amelia and Gouling and I talked about this last week. You know, Brian Sexton's not here today, and he always says, "Rory, well, you're one voice. What do we need to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm not one voice. There's a lot of us out there, and what we need to do is gather them up and collaborate and stuff." And that's why I love having you. I really hope that we have an opportunity to collaborate. I'd like to help CHAMPIONNow and have that conversation. I can probably bring some people to do that. But it's bringing those voices together and working together. We have a unique opportunity to reshore and work on a prosperous America and lift people up.
For
and,
sure.
You know, for a young person, thinking about a career, you know, manufacturing is a really good option. We just got to shine some light on it. And I applaud you for championing that, you know, and what you do. CHAMPIONNow is a phenomenal organization. We need more of it, and you know, just thank you for doing that. So I want to thank you for being on here. Going to have you back. You know, we'll talk about Iverson and the firm and your family history and maybe a few other things. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on. Thank you.